So, I love to open this program by reading back to the person that I'm talking to something that I found from them that they posted online. So, for you, I found something from the Prison Fellowship Instagram, and it looks like it's an interview that they did with you. And it says this: What is something that has surprised you while working in the prison ministry space? And you say, the church inside. It's alive and well. Christians behind bars often have a profound understanding of grace and have completely surrendered to Jesus. I love that, Heather. Talk to us about it more.
Yes, Heather, I think one of the most surprising things about prison ministry is that often we start out with a posture of we are coming to bring the hope of Jesus Christ inside. And when you do this work for long enough, you realize when you get there that he is alive and well. And there is something very different about the prison environment that I actually think is conducive to pursuing Jesus and Christian community in the spaces where we have seen that in prison fellowships programs. So, for example, you think of how much distraction we have in our everyday life as Christians in the outside world. Every form of social media, it's pretty hard sometimes to get still and hear the Lord's voice. And in prison, sometimes it can actually be easier to find that because there is less distraction from technology and other sources. And then if you think about the prison environment, if you're living in Christian community, as we have in our Prison Fellowship Academy, where people choose to opt into a program that's based on a Christian worldview, teaching Christian principles, delving into character, and we invite anyone of any faith or no faith at all to join us, but we often have a contingent of strong believers who choose to join and be part of that. And if you say you're a Christian in that setting, if you can imagine, you're not able to escape. You are 24/7 with the sisters or the brothers that are inside with you, and so they are going to see if you are actually authentic to the faith that you profess. And those who are living inside in this Christian community in the academy are really holding accountable one another and encouraging one another and delving in to the deepest, darkest places of their lives together in a way that I think is pretty remarkable and that is actually hard to find in the outside community. And so, what I'm most excited about in the years to come at Prison Fellowship is just giving actually the outside church a better glimpse and understanding of what God's doing inside prison. And I think as we think of the decline in the church outside, in many places, we have declining attendance, younger generations, less likely to be going to church, right? But if we could just get them inside to see how alive and vibrant Jesus is behind bars with those who do know Jesus behind bars, I actually think it could cause revival from the inside out.
I love what you do. My husband is teaching a class at the prison right now, that's like an hour from us, and is super passionate about that work. His dad was in and out of prison most of his life, and so he wanted to, I think his original reason for going there was just to like kind of better understand and try to forgive his dad, to understand the environment that he was constantly in. Talk to me about how you got involved in prison ministry.
Well, it's certainly not where I thought I would end up. I, growing up, didn't have much connection to the prison system. Grew up in suburbia, Northern Virginia, and my family was not directly impacted. Um, I studied abroad in undergrad, then wanted to go back and live abroad, and got the chance to teach English in East Africa. Was really passionate about child welfare. Wanted to go to law school to actually impact the foster care system, child welfare system. So that's what I thought I would do. And I got to work in orphanages and volunteer there while I was abroad. So I came back to the US, started law school in Virginia. And my first year of law school, I just thought, okay, I got to work somewhere to remind myself why I'm putting myself through this grueling experience. Applied to a number of child organizations, and nothing opened up. And then something opened up at a small nonprofit that happened to open a portfolio into prison conditions. So it was really my first glimpse at looking at these issues. And I began to realize how many people we incarcerate in this country, for how long. Some of the conditions I worked on were the use of solitary confinement, holding people in a cell 23 hours a day, sometimes only letting them out for an hour, still isolated for recreation, and shackling of pregnant and laboring incarcerated mothers. So my eyes were just open to this. And I thought, as a Christian, I have no choice. I have to care about this. And I grew passionate about it as I advocated on it. And I began to interact with Prison Fellowship through my previous organization and coalition, working with them. And I just thought, how amazing would it be to work for an organization that actually represents my faith values? And given the history of our founder, Chuck Colson, given the history of our work inside prisons, I think that Prison Fellowship has a lot of influence. How great would it be to work there? And so I applied to a role after law school in their public policy team, and I have been there ever since. And since then, my husband's family has had some direct impact with the incarceration system. Our nephew who stood up at our wedding, my husband's one of nine, and so when I say nephew, more like a brother to him. And we're waiting for his release. He's been in for about 4 years, and so some of his children are actually beneficiaries of our Prison Fellowship Angel Tree program that serves children of the incarcerated, starting usually with a gift on behalf of their mom or dad at Christmas time, delivered through churches. And so I've seen them personally benefit from that. And I've seen the power of what God can do when we give people enough time and space to really address the reasons that brought them to prison and to invite Jesus to be part of the process of healing and accountability and um, renewed beginnings.
I have tears in my eyes as I'm talking to you because I emotionally, spiritually, just feel really connected to this conversation. It feels like such important Christ-like work, right? That you are at the front lines of. Can you talk to us a little bit about the over criminalization that's happening in America right now? And how would you describe that to somebody who may be listening who is like, that's not happening. There is no problem. How do you talk about this problem to even address it?
A couple things. If we look back just several decades ago, we would see in the 80s, early 90s, we were punishing crimes, same crimes as we are today, but for far less time. And so I think as Americans, we have lost sight of what proportionality means and how long a year in prison and the distance that that puts between a person in society, a person in their family, a person and their children, as it sounds your family knows well. And so we have punished far harsher penalties, and I think just lost sight of how much that means to a person's life and what institutionalization does to people over time. Um, and then on the other end, you know, we not only are sentencing more harshly, um, policies like three strikes and you're out rules have come in, right? Um, we also, as we release people, we have an estimated over 40,000 barriers to second chances. And so, what I mean by that is barriers to housing, employment, all because you have a criminal record. And so, when we say, hey, you should start fresh, live right, it's actually a lot harder than people may realize to do that. And so that's another piece of the laws I think that we have to change, and a piece of the overcriminalization that's happened. And then finally, when we think of the time people actually spend in the system itself, no other institution in this country would we allow for people to come out worse than when they went in, right? If we looked at a hospital and they had a lot of deaths happening, a lot of people coming out sicker, we would be outraged, right? But we tolerate that from our correction system. In fact, I think sometimes we even think it's deserved for people to be treated in a way that is inhumane. And if we truly believe what the Bible has to say about every person being made in the image of God, God given dignity, that's not only not acceptable, but actually, we should be at the forefront of reaching out and showing the love of Jesus to people on the inside and ensuring that they truly do have an opportunity to transform and to reach a second chance post release, or even to reach a second chance while they're in.